All right, this is the Guts and Ghoul podcast. I'm Dax.
And I'm Brad.
And last episode, we discussed the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new film, as well as I think we touched base just a little bit on the original. And I definitely think we're going to get into the original a bit more, or at least referencing it throughout this episode, because
Yeah.
we subjugated ourselves to torture, much like a lot of the characters in these films, by watching every Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel, prequel, and remake. Um, and I'm exhausted. I don't know about you, Brad.
Oh God, yeah. Last week when I watched all of these, I never wanted to see Chainsaw again in my entire life.
I think my neighbors are probably terrified of me because all last week they've probably just been hearing nothing but chainsaw noises and screaming.
Just they're thinking
Um,
about calling the cops at this point.
yeah. Luckily though, maybe like after this one, they're fine. Until whatever next shitty franchise I watch.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just go into Texas Chainsaw 2, which is the
Yes.
only one written and directed by Toby Hooper other than the original. So it makes it shows. I like Texas Chainsaw 2 a lot. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean this is definitely my favorite sequel by far
Yes.
of any of
I
them.
guess.
Like it's I think Toby. From what I was from my research that I did, I
Hmm.
think basically Toby Hooper was thinking like, oh, like he doesn't want to do what he did in the original.
Right.
But he was kind of frustrated with the fact that when people watched the original, they didn't really comment much on like the comedic aspects of it,
Hmm.
like with his family, like the black humor, and so if he
Yeah.
was going to do another one, he said that he wanted to up the comedic elements of that, and I think you can definitely see that in the final movie.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I always compare this one to Evil Dead 2, and we talked about that
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
Of basically Toby Hooper made Texas Chainsaw, became like an established director, was able to get an actual budget, and he's like, I'm gonna make my own new version of it, yet still make it a sequel, which
right.
is very similar to like Evil Dead 2,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like same characters, goofier, more insane.
Goof. Yeah,
Um, yeah. Um, and in this
almost
one,
like
yeah,
it's like what he does with the Leatherface and his family. It's almost like making fun of the original.
yeah,
Like it's very bizarre. It like yeah, Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 1 is a good comparison, and then I would also throw in like Gremlins 2 and Gremlins 1,
yeah. Hmm.
where that's the same situation. Same director came back for the sequel, and he just like gave it Looney Tunes logic, and like
Yeah.
just went like ham with the comedic elements of it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like everything is like I feel like amped up to the extreme. The gore in this one is actually insane. Um,
Yeah,
it's a lot more than the original, which the original really didn't have a lot of gore. Um,
not at all. Yeah.
but this one basically our Sawyer family has moved into what it's like it's like an abandoned theme park, like an underground um like tunnel system,
That's what it
right?
seemed like to me. It seemed like yeah, the top of it is like an abandoned theme park, and then
Yeah,
this is like what I'm saying, Looney Tunes logic. There's like
yeah,
all these like tunnels under the ground,
like a
like
cave
Bugs
system.
Bunny. Yeah, like Bugs Bunny tunneled his way under there, and then there's living under there. It's
Yeah,
very weird.
and Drayton Sawyer, Daddy Sawyer, he's been going around with his world famous chili, and the secret's in the meat.
Yeah.
You gotta pay attention to the meat, he says.
Oh
So
my god,
he's
give me.
going around America feeding people human.
Yeah,
Um, and I guess that's how they're getting their money.
I'd assume
Uh,
so. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, and then this is a sequel to the original, so Dennis Hopper's character is the uncle of Franklin and Sally,
Yes, Franklin Sally.
and
Yeah.
he is on almost like a spiritual journey um to apprehend these men.
Yeah.
Um and in this one we have a new member of the family. We have Chop Top, who I guess was in Vietnam during the events of the first film.
Yeah, I guess because he says that at one point like Nam flashbacks
Yeah,
for
and
some
that's
reason.
that's why he has the dome in his head. That's where he got it. Which he's constantly scraping and eating his own
Oh,
scalp.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting character trait.
So they I want to talk also a little bit about the opening with those two like rich kids.
Oh my god, yeah, I love the opening of this. It's
Yeah,
like so bizarre.
they're driving uh drinking, and one guy's got crazy like tie-dye like glasses, and they're like shooting a gun, um and they're prank calling like this news station, or not news stations, like radio station,
Yeah,
which introduces our final girl, Stretch, her name was, right? um
stretch, yeah.
and next thing you know, Leatherface and the Sawyer family show up, and you get Leatherface with a body shield, like he's like almost like a puppet,
Yeah,
like
for some
mummy
reason.
person with a chainsaw, and he's like puts the chainsaw through the car and just cuts like into the guy's head. Um, so that's awesome.
That was quite awesome. And the
But
soundtrack during this,
yeah,
the soundtrack in general for this movie
mhm,
is like A plus. It's like synths and
yeah,
like a lot of. It's not something you would expect from a Texas Chainsaw movie, which is like kind of why I like it.
and
Um,
and we'll get into this as we talk about the other ones. But this is the one that is the farthest from the original, but the best.
yes,
Like I
yeah,
feel like all the other sequels just try to hit the same beats the first film did, and this one just
yeah,
says, "Fuck that." I'm
yeah.
just
Fuck
gonna
it.
we're gonna have Leatherface on a car chainsawing kids, and they're in a underground amusement park, and we're gonna have chainsaw fights.
Yeah, literally.
Uh, so they go, the Chop Top and Leatherface go to the radio station, where I think the most iconic scene is when Leatherface has like Stretch in the other room, and she's like starts like kind of like talking down to him like he's like a kid,
Oh,
um and he's just like, what? And then she's like, yeah, you're like a good, like a big boy and stuff, like I guess trying to turn him on. And
yeah.
because he sees he's like starting to get submissive, and he starts like thrusting his chainsaw and does like a mating dance.
Yeah, he's like licking his lips and like
Yeah,
looking
he's
at
like
her
licking
like
his
very
lip.
longingly.
Yeah, and he's like like rubbing the chainsaw on her legs. uh And I guess you could say Leatherface fell in love, because he doesn't kill her. And
Yeah, he
then
lets her
when,
go.
yeah, and Chop Top's like, "Oh, you kill him?" And Leatherface's like, "Yeah, uh huh." So they're like, "All right." So they take their victim man, which is Stretch's boyfriend. Uh,
Yeah, or he's like some weirdo that hits on her that like she
yeah,
doesn't want anything to do with.
I don't know, wasn't sure if it was like her boss or boyfriend or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
but they go to their underground labyrinth of caves
Yeah, and
where they
Stretch I
meet up.
guess just follows them there
Yeah, because she
because
wants to save him, and she falls down the tube.
right, yeah.
And then that's where my favorite scene is, because she falls down, and Leatherface is cutting off the guy's face and like skinning
Yes.
him while he's still alive. And she like makes a sound, and he sees her, but he wants to hide her because he doesn't want like the other Sawyers like knowing that
Hmm.
he let her live. And he puts his face on her and leaves. And that's right when the guy who just got skinned alive wakes up and sees her wearing his face.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to like the original, where like the absurdity of the situation is just hilarious.
It really is, yeah. He puts the face on her and he's like dancing around with her. It's like
Yeah.
it's so absurd that it's like it's kind of funny, but also horrifying. It's really
Hmm.
strange.
It's like funny from an outsider's perspective, but when you think about what she is experiencing, it's like so fucked.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of this movie.
One scene that I wanted to mention before I get too far past it is
Yeah.
it's my favorite scene in the movie, probably the Leatherface reveal where
Hmm.
they're back at the radio station. Chop Top is talking to Stretch, the radio host,
Yeah.
and the scene is lit really creepily.
Yeah.
There's lots of like weird colors. There's like kind of like
Hmm.
neon almost like
Yeah.
over, and it's just kind of it's Chop Top just kind of intimidating her and being a weirdo freak, like scratching his
Yeah.
head,
Yeah.
and he lures
And he's
her.
like asking her for a tour.
Yeah, he asked her for a tour, and he kind of lures her over to this dark doorway,
Hmm.
and then she turns the light on, and Leatherface just like jumps out and starts running after her.
Yeah.
Like, man, Toby Hooper knows how to reveal Leatherface. Like that, it was a
And
cool reveal.
he did in the original too, because that's my favorite part. You don't expect it at all. He's just walking in the house, and the door just slams open, and then
Yeah,
just gets whacked.
exactly. He like Toby Hooper knows what to do with Leatherface. Like that's 100%
Yeah.
certain. You know.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get when you have a guy that just understands horror
Yeah, yep.
at it like an anatomical level. Like he just, it's great.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the rest of the movie is really just um, Dennis Hopper with a big chainsaw and two little chainsaws.
Yeah, one huge one.
Um, and he is just going through the tunnels, just destroying all the support beams.
Yes, this is where the more Looney Tunes logic comes in, because
It almost does feel like Roadrunner or something
it
like
does
that.
like that seems like Roadrunner would like go through Bugs Bunny's tunnels in the ground and start caving them in by like
Hmm.
hitting support beams. It's like
Yeah.
because what Dennis Hopper is doing, he's just trying to bring down the whole tunnel system on them because he knows they're there.
Hmm.
So he just goes around chainsawing the support beams, and I guess that somehow
Yeah.
makes it cave in because this is a cartoon, basically.
Yeah. And throughout the movie, they hear like rocks will crumble and stuff, and they're just like, "Didn't I tell you to fix that?" Blah blah
I
blah. Like
know.
they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, and then they find Stretch. They do a whole chase, and they find out, oh, like Leatherface likes her, and he's like Leatherface is a girlfriend. Leatherface is a girlfriend, and they're like teasing him. Um. And that's something I want to talk about, which I think makes the first film, and they carry it along this one, so scary, is how innocent the Sawyers are. Like they almost like they tease each other like brothers, but
Hmm.
they're doing it over murdering someone.
Right.
Like, like they're constantly
Yeah.
teasing each other, constantly like, "Ooh, I want to kill her. I want to hit her." And
Hmm.
they do that in this one too, and it like adds so much like uncomfortableness to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then they do the iconic dinner scene, like every Texas Chainsaw has.
Yeah. This is kind of the point where the movie starts falling apart for me, or
Yeah.
like the part of the movie that I like the least. Because I mean, I like the first like half of the movie because it's like completely different from the original,
Yes.
like plot wise.
Hmm.
It's like not anywhere near the same. Like they're
No.
doing a girlfriend thing with Leatherface, which we haven't
Yeah.
seen before. Like the whole radio station plot is weird and interesting. But then when she gets captured, they do the whole dinner scene from the original, and then they
Yeah.
repeat the grandpa scene where he's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
could kill. He could kill people with one
Well,
hit," and then he
yeah.
takes like
Grandpa's the best at
16
killing.
hits. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's 137 years old now, or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like a very
something
specific
insane.
number. Yeah. It's like, um, yeah. And then that's when Dennis Hopper shows up, and they have like almost like a weird. It almost feels like an '80s movie schlocky like action sequence
Yes, very much so.
where Leatherface. It seems satirical. like in the
Yeah.
best way. Like not nothing against it. It's funny. It's just
Hmm.
at this point it's a straight comedy.
Yes, and like
Like there's
that.
no real horror anymore.
And Dennis Hopper, by the way, is like just like is chewing the scenery. His performance
Yeah,
is so over the top.
it is insane. He is like they asked him to be at like a 9 and he went to like a 15 or something. Like he just
Eh,
went over.
yeah.
Um yeah, him and Leatherface have a duel and it gets to the point where Dennis Hopper's like dual wielding chainsaws. Um and I guess Drayton is like, "All right, well, this is how it ends." And he just pulls out a fucking grenade
Yeah,
that
that
they
is
had.
just there. This is like Looney Tunes logic. He pulls it out of his someone's pocket, like one of his dead relatives'
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah, it was like one of the dead bodies at the table.
Yeah.
And he just blows them all up. But to be fair, we don't see any of we don't see Leatherface technically die,
Yeah, yeah, we don't see that.
which I guess is how they get away with the next movie. But while this is going on, Chop Top is chasing Stretch outside onto a big mountain thing
Oh God,
where
yeah.
they have like the Sawyer family matriarch that they keep up there.
Hmm.
Very like psycho-esque, like mummified grandma.
Oh yeah, and she's still alive.
Yeah,
Somehow that was really
yeah.
creepy to me. She looks like completely dead, like a mummified corpse, and then all of a sudden she's moving around.
Hey, say what you want about the Sawyers, but they have the secret to life. You know,
Apparently, yeah, eating people gives you a
eating people
lot
makes you
more
younger.
years.
Um, there's one part that I like, and they did this kind of a bit, and it's really kind of tough to watch. Is when she has I think she revving up the chainsaw, um, and Chop Top is just slashing her on the back
Oh yes,
like
yeah,
continuously,
yeah.
and it's just so. And they kind of do that in the first one when Sally's running out to the street after she escapes the dinner,
Oh
and
yeah.
the brother's like constantly slashing her on the back,
Hmm.
and it's like it like look it's real tough, like
Yeah,
it's real hard to look at.
it's very yeah. It looks very painful.
Yeah, but then she gets it, saws Chop Top and pushes him off the mountain, and
Which there's a mountain, by the way, for some reason in this amusement park.
yeah, and he falls down and rolls back into the tube or something, so who knows where he went.
Oh yeah, you.
That whole part almost reminds me of how to get to like Oogie Boogie's A Nightmare Before Christmas. They have that big mountain with the tubes
Oh yeah,
that go places. That's always what it
yeah.
reminded me of.
I can see that.
Um, and I just love it. Just ends. It's just like she's on the mountain. She's like, yeah, and then just over.
It's just over. Yeah, everyone
Yeah,
gets
I
blown up,
love.
presumably.
That's one of. Yeah, everyone's dead. Stretch gets out alive. That's about it.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I love that's one of my favorite thing. And I'll say this over and over. I love when horror movies just end. Like the second the bad guy's dead, the second they get out, just done. You know, just credits
Yeah.
roll, just hard cut credits. I love that.
And it's definitely what this
Um,
movie does. She's just like standing triumphant with the chainsaw on the mountain, and then you're just over.
anything else about Texas Chainsaw 2, or should we move on?
No, other than it all goes down from here. This is the best
Yeah,
sequel that we've gotten so far.
this one I think Texas Chainsaw 2 is definitely my favorite of the sequels. It's the most fun. It's the most different. I love
Yes.
what they do with the characters. Um, and I feel like from here, it's just all these other directors constantly trying to remake what Toby Hooper had in the first one.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and I will get into that right now because I wanted to talk about this. Is I made a list while watching all of these of all the things that every movie has. Okay,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go through. The light bulb sound effect. Everyone except the second. The second is the exception.
Yeah.
I don't think they repeat any of these in the second. But the light bulb sound effect, that or whatever that is, I guess it's like the old cameras like taking the picture.
That's what I've
Um,
always assumed that is supposed to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because and I'll get into this. I think in the remake territory they do because as I said before, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is loosely based off of Ed Gein, and like a famous like Ed Gein was like real. It was like the first kind of big crime. So you had all like the press, and there's all these photos getting taken and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of supposed to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That makes sense.
but the next one is Leatherface slamming a door. A big metal door gets slammed. He always closes it. There's always a dinner scene.
Always.
There's always a shot of a dead armadillo on the road. Leatherface always gets wounded in the leg somehow. They always try to recreate that shot on the original with the butt, where she's like, when the guy first gets hit by Leatherface and she's outside on the swing and she's like, "Are you okay in there?" And she like gets up and there's that like low angle shot and she's in those like red, like booty shorts,
Oh yeah,
and you
yeah,
see the whole house, like the iconic shot. They always try to remake that shot somehow.
yeah.
Leatherface just cutting through doors.
Yes, that definitely happens in
Um,
every single
he
one.
does that so much, and even like in the original, like Drayton's just like, "Look what your brother did to the door."
Yeah.
And he's like yelling, and then like when he sees Leatherface, he's like, "Why did you break the door?" um, one of my favorite is girl jumps out of window.
Oh man, yeah, that
Everyone
happens a
has
lot
it
too. Yeah.
because the original Sally jumped out of 2 windows, so they just kept that going, and then finally the chainsaw dance
Yes.
that happens. But those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things, um, almost all of them happen in every one of these movies we're going to talk about. And I wish I would have known it sooner because you could have easily turned it into a drinking game
Easily.
because it
Yeah.
happens so often.
You'd be like dead by like the third movie.
Yeah. I think it was the remake uses that noise so much.
Oh
Even like
god,
when it doesn't
yeah.
even like make sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about now Leatherface.
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Face.
Which
right off the bat, this one is very strange because I think it starts. Yeah, it's got the opening crawl, like every one of these do. But one of the things I noticed about it was that, like it just doesn't make sense. Like it, but basically, I guess what happened is, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, it's that, it's saying that Leatherface got away, but one of his family members was caught and like was executed for his crimes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And but it, like the original, the only one that lived of his family was his father, which is Drayton Sawyer. But in the opening crawl, they call him W.E. Sawyer, which is really strange. I don't.
And he's not even in this one.
No, he's not in it at all. Yeah. I don't know if that's supposed to be his character or what. The W.E. Sawyer thing is very confusing.
I'm not sure. The ways they go trying to get Leatherface into new family dynamics, they stretch it out. They really go for it sometimes. Where they almost want the audience to just say, "Fuck it, it doesn't matter."
Honestly,
and that's why I don't understand why make sequels.
Yeah, just make it like,
if it doesn't matter,
just make it like James Bond or something, but with Leatherface.
Yeah,
like the story doesn't really
different
matter
story.
movie to movie,
Yeah, Friday the 13th, exactly like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter. Jason shows up, kills people, fine.
That's all you need.
Know? Poor hippies in the 70s come across a Sawyer family.
There you go.
But this one is interesting because this is the one. This is the one with Viggo Mortensen, right?
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
It is. I did not expect that at all.
For him to be
Um,
in this kind of movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so this one for me, my main gripe with it is I don't really like any of the characters, both the I guess victims and the family.
Yeah.
They're very forgettable.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought I was gonna like the soldier character, um,
yeah,
but he turned
which
out to
is
be like a complete dumbass later.
Ken Foree. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh shit, Ken Foree's in this movie. It's gonna be great, and he's fine. Like he's
right.
good.
Yeah.
But just he just character doesn't do much.
No, and he makes so many stupid decisions. Like it's like unbelievable.
And I mean, basically, the premise of this is almost very similar to the first movie, where this couple are I forgot where they're driving. It was aren't they on like some trip to like save their marriage? Like they're on vacation, like they're like not doing good.
Yeah, I wanted to say it was.
Um,
Yeah, they were trying to yeah, like save their marriage. 'Cause she doesn't seem
and
especially excited about being with him, and but then
yeah,
she just kind of gets the hot for Viggo Mortensen's character.
yeah, and there's a whole dynamic there.
Yeah.
And they stop at a gas station where they get into a kind of a fight with the creepy owner there because he was like a peeping tom on her while she was going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And Vigo steps in and they fight, and then Vigo gets shot, and they like
Presumably.
get scared and yeah,
You
they
don't
get
actually
scared
see
and
him
drive away.
get shot. It's like you just kind of hear it, and they're like, "Oh my god, he killed him!"
Yeah, and then later they run. Don't they? I forgot. Do they crash into Ken Foree or do they run into Leatherface
Uh,
first?
uh,
This is like a really forgettable movie
It
for me.
really is. No, I'm having trouble like remembering exactly what happens because there really is no plot. It's just kind of like things just kind of happen, and Leatherface chases them.
Yeah, I think no, I think the tow truck was chasing them, and then they run into Ken Foree,
Oh,
and
that and they both
then
like kind of
he's
crash,
like,
right?
yeah, he's like, what's going on? They're like, there's a madman with a chainsaw, and he thinks they're like crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it turns out he's like a survivalist, and he was like in the military. Uh, and that eventually then leads to them all, at least the couple, getting captured and taken to the house,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we meet. Um, well, the grossest character is the daughter of Leatherface. Because Leatherface fucks, I
He
guess.
fucks now.
Um, and yeah, and there's like a mother figure in it as
Yeah,
well, and she's got like the little
she's
smoker
supposed to be his
thing.
aunt or something. I thought she was like, yeah, she's like his aunt or
Yeah,
some shit.
and he has like three other brothers, and that's when we're revealed that Vigo is a part of them, along with the gas station guy.
Yeah.
Um, as if we did not see that coming at all. Uh, and this is where I think the family dynamic takes a shift, which I think kind of like isn't as good as the original because now they're more like family. The Saw is family. Like we love each other and we protect each other. Where in like the first two movies is they're just constantly shitting on each other, they're yelling at each other, they're hitting each other.
Yeah.
It's much more chaotic and unpredictable.
Right.
Where
It,
this they're much more like we protect each other and all that.
which is just strange.
Um
It's less creepy that way than it just being like
yeah.
these are all just a bunch of nutcases that I'm stuck in a
Yeah.
house with that like don't even get along with each other and they want to kill me. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Like Leatherface gets a little kiss from his daughter.
yeah.
It's nice.
And this is where the character of Leatherface starts to get diluted in this movie, by the way.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Leatherface I think is like barely has any other really screen time much in this movie. I feel like it's mostly the brothers.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's they don't appear too much. He
Um,
doesn't appear too much.
but the one thing I was reading that I guess this movie, and I think a reason why it isn't that memorable, is that they had to censor a lot of the gore for it to get a theatrical like release, which you can see because almost all the kills are not on screen,
Oh,
and
that's right. I
there's
remember
even
reading about that.
yeah
Like
when
it originally got an X rating, I think, when they sent it to
yeah,
get rated, and then they were like, "Oh crap, we got to cut it down now."
and it's a shame because there's like one part like the first real kill, her boyfriend's like hung upside down and he's like strapped in, and there's like a hammer like on a device that's connected to a lever,
Oh
and like
yeah,
when the lever's pulled it just swings the hammer into his head, but they cut away right before it hits.
yeah. It's a shame.
um yeah, and the rest of the movie is really, they kind of do a dinner scene but it kind of ends early.
Yeah, they kind of do it,
um
but not really,
she gets out, jumps out a window, of course.
because you have to have that.
She has a fight with Vigo and she lights him on fire,
Yeah, and
if I
he like
remember
runs into
correctly.
the house. I think you don't really know what happens to him from there, but he dies
Yeah,
presumably.
and there's like a bizarre part where like the daughter is watching him in the window,
Oh
and like
yeah.
she's like kind of rooting him on, and then when he gets lit on fire she's like upset and like walks away.
Which the daughter doesn't die, I don't think, does she? I
No, she doesn't do it. I think that's the last time you see her.
Yeah, literally. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and then Ken Forey comes and saves the day. They fight Leatherface, and they don't kill him. I honest I honest to God don't
I
remember
legitimately
what
don't
happens to
even
Leatherface.
remember. Oh no,
I
they do.
know
They
that
do kill him.
okay.
Because remember that at the very end, they're like trying to get in their pickup truck. Oh no, wait,
Oh yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was the. But yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
the
that's the
brother. You're thinking
brother.
of the
Yeah,
brother,
the brother ends up attacking them. Oh my god.
which was the gas station owner
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, and then they like shoot him and he goes in the water. Um, but you never see him die.
That okay?
Um,
Can I want to go on a rant about
yes,
the soldier
yes.
character really quick.
Okay,
This is
go on
my
a rant about the
biggest
soldier.
takeaway from this movie. This
Okay.
dude is such a dumbass. I just want to say he's like it's. I started the movie and when they revealed that he was like a former military type, I was like, oh okay, this is
Mm.
kind of interesting. They've never done like this before in the past couple movies, But he just turns out to be like the biggest dumbass of all time. I remember there was one part where he has like an M16 or something like that.
Yeah, he has like a rifle.
Yeah. And so it like I think instead of like shooting Leatherface, he just like lifts his gun up to block Leatherface's chainsaw with his gun for some reason.
Yeah,
It's really strange. I don't know
I
why you
remember
wouldn't
that.
just shoot him. Or like that scene, yeah, when he's fighting with the gas station attendant who turns out to be Leatherface's brother, and he just
Mm.
kicks him into the water.
Yeah, instead of just shooting him. That
Yeah,
was my thought too.
and I was like, what? Like kicking people in the water doesn't automatically kill them. This isn't like I don't know video game logic.
It's a video game. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course he comes back at the very end to like fuck with them, and you know,
Yeah, I was so it ends with them getting out,
yeah,
or a truck comes to, and she thinks it's a bad guy, but oh, it's our soldier man.
yeah,
And right as they're getting away, then the bad guy, the brother that he kicked in the water, comes out,
right.
and they fight, and then they actually kill him.
Which just does Ken
Um
Forrest's character die or because he lives,
no.
doesn't he?
So I was actually reading that I guess the original, I don't know the original if he dies or they all die, but the test audiences didn't like it. So they added that last bit of him coming back to save her and they get away and it's happily ever after.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, and then after they shoot the brother and they drive, I'm pretty sure Leatherface just like steps into frame and does his little like
That's
dance.
right. Yeah, I knew.
And it's like,
I knew he came
why weren't
back.
you helping, bro?
Hey, just watching his brother die. Apparently.
Yeah. For me, this was maybe the most boring, at least. I don't know, just
It
not a
was
lot happened.
like Yeah,
Um,
the fact that the gore is like heavily censored and edited around really like makes it lose a lot of its punch.
mhm.
Um, and
And there wasn't enough tension,
no, yeah, there
really.
was no like
There
attempt at
wasn't enough
build up,
chaos.
right?
Yeah. Um, and I think this is where it starts for me, and I will complain about this thing as we go on. Is it no longer feels like we're in Texas? Like, I don't
Yeah, it
know.
feels like
This
California, which
uh
is probably where they shot it.
it's very like, yeah, it's very like foresty. I think like really the only time they're like looks like Texas is when they're driving.
Oh, at the very beginning.
Um and throughout these movies, I think Texas slowly disappears. It just does not feel like Texas. And for me, it's kind of like Halloween, like the Halloween franchise. It's got to feel like Halloween night.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the setting makes it. It adds a little bit of oomph to it.
Yeah.
Um, these just don't feel like Texas anymore.
No, you're right. At a
And
certain point, it just stops mattering completely to anything other than the title of the movie.
exactly. Um, I I think we're ready to move on
Yeah, I
to
mean,
the next generation.
the third one, it's basically just I feel like the studio probably saw the reaction to the second one. They're like, okay, we need to make
Yeah.
something that is more in line with the first one, and like this was their attempt at doing it.
hmm
But overall, it's
It's the classic. It worked the first time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
right. Yeah, they go
And it
back to that
turns out
darker tone.
that charm and charisma makes it work,
Yes.
and actually knowing what you're doing. So,
So yeah, the fourth one. We'll move on.
all right. So next generation. Now this one, I'm excited for this one. This is actually like one of the lowest reviewed ones of all of them. The lowest reviewed.
It makes sense. It
And I'm
makes
gonna tell you
sense.
something. My opinion on this may shock you. I don't think we've really talked about this.
No.
I love this one.
Oh my god,
Like
no.
I genuinely really like it. And I'm not like bullshitting you.
Hmm.
I woke up the next morning after watching it still thinking about this movie.
What the fuck?
And to me, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I guess so. If it sticks with you, you know.
Yeah. Um so this one, first of all, we have to talk about Matthew McConaughey
Yes.
cuz I had no idea he was in this movie.
Which, by the way, he was the him being in this was the only reason it ended up getting released. Because I think
Really?
this movie ended up coming out in like 95, 97, something like that. But it was originally
Uh-huh.
supposed to come out a few years earlier, I guess. But they tested it with audiences and like everyone hated it apparently, so they just shelved it.
Hmm.
But then once
Yeah.
McConaughey and then the main girl Renee Zellweger, once they kind of
Hmm.
exploded in popularity, then they just decided to release it, um, just to like try to
Okay.
capitalize off of like their
Right.
careers at the time. Which is not a good reason to release a movie that everyone says is dog shit, but whatever.
Hey, I like it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to talk about. That's for sure.
It well, it starts off I think pretty generic with a
Yeah.
bunch of high schoolers. It's prom night. Um they get into a car accident on their way to prom or back from prom. I They were fighting. I don't know. It doesn't really matter as long as it just gets them to Leatherface.
That's all that
Um
matters.
so they get into a car crash. They're not sure if they killed this guy or not. And two of them walk to the town, and they go to this little shack with this businesswoman, and I'm not entirely sure what her business is.
Yeah, she just
If
like
it's like a
lives in
real
a
estate agent,
trailer. It's really strange.
but it's like her
Yeah, it
office,
looks like an office.
and she's like in a suit. And she's like, "Oh, I'll call the cops." blah blah blah, and she seems like she knows kind of everyone in town,
Mhm.
and they're like, okay, cool, great. So, she's like, yeah, the tow truck's coming, the police are on their way, blah blah blah. So the teenagers go back, and while that's happening, Matthew McConaughey shows up, and he's the tow truck driver. Uh, and the guy's like, "Oh, great! Like, I think we don't know if this guy's dead or not." Matthew McConaughey just kind of goes and just fucking steps on his head and like kills him. And he's like, "Yeah, he's dead, all right."
Yeah, he like
And
cracks his neck.
that's when we realize we got a Sawyer.
Yeah.
There's our, as if we didn't expect the weird hillbilly character that has a mechanical leg to be part of the cannibal family. Um,
Yeah.
but that's another thing we have to talk about is his leg, which becomes a very key point to the plot
Apparently,
later.
yeah.
It's like hooked. I don't even know how to describe it. He has like this metal brace that's constantly like squeaking. And it looks very like makeshift,
Yeah.
like put together. And it's controlled by several TV remotes he has in his pockets.
Yeah. He just has like 16 TV remotes that he takes out and to like move his knee. It's really
Yeah.
weird.
So he eventually kills that guy that was waiting for the friends. And and he takes him back to the house. And the other friends end up at the house anyways. I think they're like flashlight died.
Something like
Or,
that, yeah. Some hijinks happen.
but like they get to the house, and this part kind of confused me because like one of the dudes is like an asshole. Like he's like constantly talking about like how he wants to like fuck other girls and all this stuff. Like he's like your typical horror movie asshole character.
Mhm.
And he gets like held at gunpoint and eventually finds his way into the house and locks the guy out. And the second he locks the guy out, it's like he just is at home. Like he's like walking around checking the place out. He's like pissing. Like, he like uses the toilet. And it's like, dude, like you're like a 17-year-old kid. You were just held at gunpoint. How are you not like
shaken.
freaking out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's when Leatherface comes and takes him out, of course. And this time Leatherface is like a woman.
Yes, yeah, full-blown
Like,
woman.
yeah. And he's like putting on the makeup and all that. Matthew McConaughey comes in with the guy. They tie up like our main girl. I think really at this point everyone's dead except the main girl and her friend.
Yeah, her friend.
And her friend is like unconscious.
Yeah.
And that's when we realize that Matthew McConaughey is insane. And there's also another brother who looks the most normal out of any other family member we've seen in any movie. He just looks like a guy. But they do the typical chase. Leatherface, like the girl gets out. She is able to escape, jumps through a window, of course.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And she goes back to that one lady in the office. And then there's our twist. Right when she thought she's safe, it turns out that lady is in on the family business.
Yeah. She's fucking Matthew McConaughey's character.
Yeah. And I don't understand that relationship.
Yeah, it was really cringy. Those scenes with the two of them, it is really painful to watch.
And there's like a part where like after like she like knocks out that girl once she realizes that she's in on it with Matthew McConaughey, and she like puts her in the trunk, and then she goes and just gets like gets pizza. It was pizza.
Yeah.
She picked up the pizza, and like she's like in the drive-thru opening the trunk, like yelling at her. She's like, "You better stop talking," blah 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 blah. And there's like police behind her and stuff. And she's just able to get away.
Yeah, because she ends up like schmoozing the cops. She's like an attractive lady, so
yeah. another thing is this movie is really like sexual. Like
Yeah, very
the
much so.
the teenagers are always talking about like sex and like they're constantly fighting because like the boyfriend cheated on the girl. Um, Matthew McConaughey and that one business lady are constantly like making out
Yeah.
and are in like it's really the Harley Joker relationship before Suicide Squad hit the big screen. This
Oh
It was
God.
Matthew McConaughey and this
And this lady, whatever
and
her
yeah,
name
I
is,
honestly don't even remember her name.
I don't either.
Um, and then like Leatherface is like in the makeup and he's wearing like the sexy dress and all that.
Yeah, which by the way felt very. That scene with him putting on all that woman stuff felt very
Mm.
Buffalo Bill Sounds of the Lambs
Yeah,
to me, which would have only
yeah.
came out a few years earlier than this movie, so it
I
makes sense
mean,
that they would have copied it.
it could have been just a direct rip on that.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then so they get the girl back. That's when we learn that the remotes control his knees or his knee,
Yeah.
and they do the dinner scene. And then this is when the big reveal happens. Which I think this is why it's the most like the lowest rated Texas Chainsaw. It's that apparently they're a part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, some form of it. It's quite strange.
And their goal is they're a secret society that scares people?
Yeah, I think the idea is basically that they they employ the Sawyer family and like Leatherface and stuff to scare people to the point that they have like a near death experience and then they like appreciate their life more. Something like that. I think that's the idea. But
Yeah. Um it's really interesting because it's a really good concept and it's used in a one of my favorite horror movies, Martyrs.
oh,
And
that's right. Yeah.
that is years after this.
Mhm.
And like what the fuck? Like I don't know. It's just it comes out of nowhere and it almost feels like a Connell Cochran plan from Halloween 3 like that he would have like, "Ooh, I'm just going to scare people."
Oh,
You
the
know?
guy with the
Yeah.
Stonehenge stuff. Yeah.
It's like a cartoony
Yeah.
kind of like villain. And then this dude also his haircut's like a half bowl cut or something. This like G-man in the suit and he opens his shirt to reveal like were they're like hanging boobs on his stomach
Something. He has like
with
piercings and
hooks.
crap. Yeah.
Yeah. And he like explains to her, he's like, "Oh, like Matthew McConaughey like fucked up. Like he's not good at his job." And it's like I thought he was doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, he seemed pretty
that
terrifying.
girl thought he was.
Yeah.
She was pretty scared.
He scared me with his
Um
performance, that's for sure.
yeah.
Got him.
I liked his performance in this.
It was really
Uh
bad. All the performances I thought were like really, really bad.
yeah. I think it's bad in a good way. I'll just give him that.
Yeah, it's definitely bad in a good
It's
way.
just it's just so over the top.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the dude just kind of leaves.
Yeah, he just leaves.
He just showed up to humiliate, and Matthew McConaughey was like scared of him too. Like he's like a little bitch, and even the woman, like his like lover, was just like she's like, "Oh, you're a pussy" and all that.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then our main girl is able to get out and get a hold of the remotes to control his knees so she can get away.
And then there's an
and I don't know.
extended sequence of Matthew McConaughey just writhing on the ground while his knee just
Yeah.
spazzes out.
His knees just spasming. Yeah, and she's like pressing random buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of love that. I don't know. I like that little. It's just there's just so much weird stuff in this that separates it from the other sequels, and I think that's just why I like it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're good choices, but I think it's something different and fun, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I guess I could see it that way. I don't know. I feel like I would like it more if like the whole Illuminati thing. I think on paper is an interesting idea. Like, before I watched this movie, I saw they had something about the Illuminati in this plot because I was looking at like a synopsis about it, and I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
that kind of sounds interesting to me. Like the idea that like the Illuminati would like employ people to like give people near death experiences to like make their
Yeah.
life have more meaning. But like, I mean, the way it's
Mhm.
executed is like it's like it's very comical, but not in an intentional way. Like
Yeah.
like it's not done well at all.
Yeah, and it just comes out of nowhere, and they
Yeah,
don't really touch on it much
yeah,
after
they
that.
don't build up to it at all. Because
Because she gets
hmm
away, and um, Matthew McConaughey is chasing her, and just a plane comes and kills him.
oh yeah, oh my
Who
god, yeah, that was really
who was
confusing.
flying the plane?
I was so
Was that
confused.
and even Leatherface was like, "What the fuck?"
Eh,
It's like that's a
yeah,
plane.
literally.
And then the Illuminati man pulls up, and he's like, "Hey, get in. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that like didn't go good." Like he was like a customer service rep. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry you had like a bad experience. Like, how can we like improve next time?" He's like, "You want to go to the hospital? Like, do you want me to call the police? What do you want to do?" And then when she goes to the hospital and there's a woman like on a stretcher getting like pulled
Mhm.
away, and that's supposed to be Sally.
Yeah, it's the same actress and everything that played her
Yeah.
originally.
Why? I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
know. That kind of that I actually quite like the ending, like that shot, because it's
Yeah,
like
I like it.
it almost makes you think like that, like the Illuminati took Sally too, and she's just in this like mental institution now from her traumatic
Mhm.
experience. Like I guess that was the implication. I don't know.
Yeah, I got that
Yeah,
too. And like even the cop was like, just weird stuff like this keeps happening. Like at
yeah,
the end. And again, well, I think kind of backtracking to the new movie that came out, but I think Sally is much more likely to end up in a mental institution all her life than spending her life getting revenge.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, she almost like a ranger or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's bizarre. But
But
anyway.
Next Generation, I like it a lot. Um, I would use the word love. I don't know. I just think it's so goofy and fun, and that's all I have to say about it. I don't
It's
defend any of its decisions.
yeah,
I'm just along for the ride, and I think it's great.
that's fair. Yeah, I definitely think it's fun to watch. I would never watch it again. But it's not my least favorite Texas Chainsaw movie. That's for
Okay,
sure.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Um, the next ones I feel like we can kind of just lump together. And that's
Yeah.
the remake and the prequel to the remake that I didn't even know was a prequel. Oh wait, did I skip 3D? Where's 3D on this list?
3D is later. It's
Oh, okay.
after. Yeah, it's after.
I also hang on before we go on. I want to talk about the names. Okay.
Okay.
So the original is the Texas Chain Space Saw Massacre. All right. We have Texas Chainsaw 2, fine.
hmm
We have Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, fine. Then we go Texas Chainsaw Next Generation. Okay, fine. I'll take that. Then remake happens,
hmm
and it's just called The Texas Chainsaw, one word, Massacre. All right. Then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. That's the prequel to the Texas Chainsaw, one word, Massacre. Then we have, I think the 3D one, its alternate title is also just called Texas Chainsaw. There's no the and there's no Massacre.
yeah.
Just Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
3D. Then
that's
we have
right.
Leatherface. And for some reason, they decided to name the sequel to the original film the exact same name, just taking out the.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I can't wait to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and after I'm gonna watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know why studios are so afraid of numbers now.
Yeah, just who cares? Or even just subtitles like Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
Massacre sub like colon something, you know?
yeah. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just the names just they're just I feel like the studios have so little faith is they know they need to have Texas Chainsaw Massacre in there for people to just give a shit.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
And speaking of not giving a shit, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 and 2006, which honestly blend into the same movie for me at least.
Yeah, they're very, very similar plot wise, for sure.
I watched both of them years ago and I genuinely thought they were the same movie. My mind molded them. Um I mean this is just a remake,
It
the
is.
2003 one.
It's just a straight up remake. They
Um
do like some different things with it.
Yeah, they're like the two brothers are ones are gonna dodge they're going on like one last trip before they go to Vietnam, and one of them is gonna dodge the draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and in this one, Drayton Sawyer, the patriarch of the Sawyer family, or no, aren't they the Hewitts in this one? They changed the name,
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they're the Hewitts in this. Yeah.
the Hewitts. Yeah, he kills the only sheriff and becomes the law, and he goes to his family and is like, there's nothing left in this town. We got to start eating people. And they're just like, okay.
That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, but they don't like it, but they're just like doing it. Like no one is like, dude, we can just like go to the grocery store, you know? Like we just go to the town over. But they were like, "Oh yeah. Okay, next logical step. Let's eat people."
Yeah,
Um
and that this feeds in like you don't need to like. That's the problem with the remakes with like these two movies, the 2003 and 2006. It feels the need to give like reasons for a whole bunch of things that there doesn't need to be reasons
yes.
for. Like you don't need a reason
Yes.
why they eat people. They could just eat people
Mhm.
because it's just their way of life, you know. Or like doesn't need to be
And
a whole
yeah.
explanation of like the town and the townspeople, you know.
And that's something I kind of wanted to talk cuz I feel like this one and the rest are drastically different than the pre-2000 ones.
Yes, yeah, way different.
Um, tonally, um, the pre-2000 ones have always tried to keep that chaotic energy that the first film has. You know, everyone like talking over each other, people just screaming. You know, like 20-minute
Right.
chases. You know, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Where these feel much more like generic horror movies. Like teenagers are introduced to a bad guy. Leatherface shows up, kills one. Okay, we have like 15 minutes of
Mhm.
nothing. Oh, Leatherface pops up again. Okay, 15 minutes of nothing. Leatherface pops up again. And it's just kind of like that, like, I don't know, just like rinse and repeat horror movie
Mhm.
formula that we just see kind of now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Um,
It's kind of why
and
they all kind of these two movies kind of blend together for I think both of
yeah,
us. You know, they're just very samey.
and they're just not, there's nothing real memorable. Like the kills are a
No.
bit gorier.
They are, but like they're like they're shot so badly and
Yeah.
they're edited so like frenetically, like you can't even tell what's going on most of the
hmm
time. So it's not really satisfying on that level either.
Yeah, I think there's like only one cool kill where like the biker guy goes into the house and like Leatherface, they have like the chainsaw on the ground and like Drayton's holding it and Leatherface like pushes him onto the chainsaw.
Oh yeah.
And I
I,
think that's about the only one that I remember.
I like the idea of that kill, but like again, that one is like it's killed in the way it's shot and edited. It's
hmm
you don't actually see anything. You just kind of hear it happening and like the noises, and you get like a quick shot of like his torso. But, I mean, that's
Yeah.
about it. You know, so
Um yeah. And another thing that I noticed is this is when they start making the protagonists like just completely unlikable.
Yes, big time.
And I think for me that's a big thing I noticed in like 2000s horror, like especially slashers where they're like, okay, we know we don't want our audience to get connected to our characters because we know they're going to die, so let's just make them not likable so we are happy when they die.
I guess that's the idea.
And I never understood that point because I think it's more effective when I like a character and they get killed.
Yeah, that the same way for me too.
Um, but these guys are just annoying
They
and
are really
unlikable.
annoying. And like the girls are just there for eye candy.
Yeah.
Like in each of these movies, they all like these movies are produced by Michael Bay. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of shots ogling the women in it, and it's just kind of eye rolling, and it's
Mhm.
not great. There always has to be a girl with like the biggest boobs possible and like the
And they're
skimpiest
always
shirt.
trying to recreate that ass shot like in the original.
Yes, yeah, big time.
Um, and the other thing that and you kind of touched base on this is like they just feel like they have to explain everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes the original so great is they don't at all. There's like little bits of dialogue, but there's no exposition in the original.
Yeah, none.
It's just like, oh, my brother and daddy worked at that meat packing plant, but they changed to, automated, way of killing the cattle and they fired everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, okay, I can put the pieces together
Exactly.
from there. But this one, they're just like, they show Leatherface like getting fired and the guy being like, all right, we got to eat people now.
And they also feel the need to explain why Leatherface wears a mask as
Yeah,
well.
they told him like he had a like a skin disorder at birth.
Yeah, where he starts like losing his nose or something like that. It's
Yeah.
yeah. You see him without his mask briefly in
Hmm.
I don't remember which
I think it's
one
the
it's in,
beginning
but
before he gets
yeah,
his mask.
that's right. Yeah, that sounds right. Which again, you don't need to explain why he wears the mask. It's just
Just that's his
you
thing.
know,
He's Leatherface.
yeah, it's not necessary.
I think. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with these. The last thing I do want to touch on, and I realized this while watching them. I feel like they were really trying to do The Hills Have Eyes, like that whole kind of hillbilly family and stuff.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the vibe I got from it.
Right.
Um,
I could see that.
because again, this is one where they're all like family's important, family, and there's actually like the mother in this one too.
Yeah, plays a pretty prominent role in it, surprisingly.
And this Drayton is like really uncharismatic. Like he's not crazy or funny
Yeah,
like the other one.
they got the guy. He always plays like an army sergeant in everything he's
Yeah.
in.
Hmm.
Like, and like he works for that type of character, but like here he's like, I don't know. There's something missing. That charm is missing from
It's like that
Drayton that he usually
bubbly,
has.
kind of like crotchety old man, like
Yeah,
craziness to it.
yeah, exactly. Something only that actor that played Drayton
Yeah.
originally in the first two films could like
Hmm.
properly bring out because that was just his personality.
Yeah. I agree.
So,
Um,
I
I
mean,
I think we're safe to move on to 3D. There's
yeah,
not much.
definitely.
3D. Do you like 3D?
Uh, I think it might it. I don't know. I have a hard time calling it the worst in the franchise when you have the next generation and like the remakes movies.
Hmm.
But it's pretty damn close for me. I don't know.
See, this one I didn't mind
Yeah.
because again, they did weird shit with it that
Hmm.
made it just different enough. Like this one doesn't have a dinner scene.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's true.
But this one definitely felt more like slasher movie than like Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, like typical slasher movie.
Um,
Yeah, I get that.
but the thing that we need to talk about is how it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yes.
Because this one, okay, so this one unwrites or gets rid of 2 through Next Generation, and it goes right
Right.
back from the beginning of the first movie. Because this movie starts, what, a couple hours after the first one ends.
Yeah.
Sally
Yeah.
goes to the police show up, and somehow the Sawyers just fucking multiply overnight.
Yeah, there's literally
There's like,
like 20 of them in the
yeah,
house
and there's like a
somehow.
mother and a baby and Leatherface is, and like, I don't, is Drayton there?
Yeah,
No, he's there.
he is there. He's played by a different actor, but yeah, he's there.
Yeah, and the rest of the town comes, which also doesn't make sense because the idea of the first one was when the mill shut down, all the jobs left and all the people left, and
Yeah.
they didn't have police either. So why there's a sheriff and a town here that have a long history with the Sawyers?
It's really strange.
But they just have a shootout,
Yeah, a shootout in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
and they kill Grandpa.
Poor grandpa.
I actually yelled they killed Grandpa. Like I was like genuinely like, oh my god! Like, he just
Really?
gets like riddled with bullets. He's like, "Grr." There's just like bullets going through him.
And this scene features a bunch of cameos, by the way, from original actors who were in the first one.
Oh really?
Like yeah, like the heavy set guy who is like
Mhm.
sitting in front of the window that has like a few lines.
Mhm.
He was the one who originally played Leatherface
Oh, that's
in
cool.
1974, Gunnar Hansen. And then the guy who plays the old man is the same guy who played the old man in the original 1974 movie, but he's just like aged up so much they don't even put prosthetics on him.
Oh my god. I don't know if that's like an insult to him or not, but
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, and the guy who plays Drayton he's different than the one from the first two, and he's not as good, like not nearly as good.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't
Again,
matter because
he
they all
dies
get killed.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, they burn down the house. And then the baby gets found by one of the people that kill the family,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, this baby's innocent. Like, we can't have kids, so we want our own."
Yeah,
And they
that was
take
not
it.
explained. That like they just all of us like that was like not set up at all. Like he just like he
Yes.
like kills that woman and he just takes her baby and you're like, what is he
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, and he like it's so funny because it's like this innocent moment. He like she's like, "Take the baby," and he takes it, and then he just kicks her fucking skull into the car.
Yeah,
And it's like the most
literally.
violent kick I've ever seen. And I'm like, "Oh my god." There's like tonally, this movie is all over the place.
Yeah, it really is. It's rough.
But I mean, basically the plot from here is just the baby. I mean, we know it's the baby grows up. And that's another thing is like it's clear that it's the kid because they show a shot of the baby and
Hmm.
then it cuts like title card opens up with like a young woman after the how many years later we're like okay she's this age and like a meat plan like oh okay you know it's in her blood blah blah blah. But then the main twist of the movie is that she's a Sawyer,
Yeah, the main
but
girl.
we knew that.
It's very obvious from the very beginning.
Maybe if I've never watched a movie before I wouldn't know that, but I've seen movies, I know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but anyways, her grandma that she never met tells her that like writes her in the will and she gets the Carson estate.
Hmm.
And so her and her friends are like, "Hey, you know, let's all go. You got this like mansion now. Let's all party." And they go and it turns out oh, Leatherface is still living there.
Yeah, he's like locked away in the basement. I guess he just gets let
Yeah,
out
and
every once in
again,
a while.
big metal door that he
Yeah.
gets to slam as much as he
For
wants.
no reason at all, by the way. There's like no reason
Yeah.
why there's a metal door, a metal sliding door there. It's just like
Uh-huh.
they did it just because it's in the original.
They need that door.
That exact door.
Um And another thing I also want to point out, which I thought was really funny, when like the lawyer guy who like did the will gave her the keys to the mansion, there is one hilariously large key in
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
that looks
yeah,
like something out of Scooby Doo. It's like a ring of normal keys and
yeah.
then just one huge like brass key. Looks like it should open like a pirate treasure or something.
Right? I know. I was thinking that it's like a ginormous key. It's like a Fisher Price key or something.
Yeah. If I get something like that, I'm immediately looking at that house what this key goes to.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I would do the same thing.
Um Another thing we need to talk about though is the 3D effects.
Oh
They're
God,
not good.
yeah, yeah, they're rough.
I think my favorite part is there's a point where the cop has like Leatherface at gunpoint, and Leatherface like doesn't know what
Oh
to do,
yeah,
so he just fucking yeets the chainsaw at him. He just like throws it, and it's like the worst CGI chainsaw that like
yeah,
comes right at the screen.
yeah, and it's supposed to make you go, whoa!
Whoa!
That chainsaw's coming right at me! Holy cow!
But it's just, and it's so funny because then Leatherface, like you just see him running away. He's like trudging away,
I know. It's like you just threw away your weapon, dude.
and then I'm pretty sure he gets it back later, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I don't remember how he gets it back.
I think he just goes back to the house. Um, so, and then I think the big part of this movie, which is why I think it's very bizarre, is that they kind of make Leatherface the good guy
Yeah, they give him the anti-hero treatment big time.
because he's been slowly getting revenge on everyone that killed his family,
Hmm.
and our main girl learns this, and she becomes like involved, like she gets kidnapped because they find out she's like a Sawyer or whatever, and Leatherface comes
Oh
and
yeah,
saves her.
yeah. He doesn't know it's her. I think he just hears that
Yeah, well, he finds
they were
out
taking her there.
because they wanted to use her as bait,
Hmm.
but then when she in the fire, her mom's like necklace like burned into her, like I guess the Carson Sawyer family crest. So Leatherface is like, yeah,
Ye,
that's my cousin, I think,
that's my cousin.
and
Yeah,
they fight the bad guys together, which I never thought I would say in a Texas Chainsaw movie.
yeah. And I guess you're supposed to root for them for some
Yeah,
reason.
that's the thing. I found myself actually rooting for him, and then I remembered like the original. I'm like, wait, no, that's the bad guy.
Yeah, Leatherface was like, I mean, Leatherface and his whole family are terrible people. Like,
Yeah,
there's not
and
really much redeeming you can do with them.
as much as like vigilante justice isn't good, that was definitely the only way they probably could have taken care of that situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Honestly,
I mean, yeah, the mayor guy was a huge asshole and stuff,
sure.
but
Oh, and that one cop, the cop that was trying to, he's at the beginning of the movie in that
yeah,
flashback
yeah,
where he's trying to stop them from doing it. It's like, God, that guy was so annoying because
y-
none of it made sense. He was just there to tell him to stop, like
yeah.
throughout the whole movie.
And then at the end, like he could have stopped Leatherface from killing him, and he's like, you know what? I owe you one.
I know, and I was like, what?
And I'm like, yeah.
Why?
I'm like, you see how many innocent people Leatherface killed up until this moment? Like that night alone, he killed like 6 people
I
that
know,
had
he
nothing to do with
deserves a
this.
shot in the brain.
Yeah. And then in the end, she just joined, like she becomes his caretaker.
Yeah, for some reason, she chooses to do that. It's really bizarre.
Um, I don't know. This one I don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, like you were saying before, at least they tried something new with it. You know,
Yeah.
like it doesn't make any sense to like try to make Leatherface into an anti-hero, but I mean, at least they
Hmm.
tried something new, like opposed to like
And
the remakes where
yeah,
it's like the same movie over and over again.
it's just the same beats, but just worse.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and like this one, like this was like I guess the first one where there isn't the rest of the family with him, and I think this is a much more realistic look of like Leatherface on his own. Because while I think he's a bit smarter in this one, he's still like he needs someone to take care of him.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess. It still suffers from that problem of like Leatherface all of a sudden becomes like uber competent,
yeah,
like killer.
hmm
When
yeah,
yeah, like he's supposed to be like barely like a
functioning.
good killer, yeah, at all, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, just the inconsistency in Leatherface's character we have seen again.
Yeah, it keeps rearing its ugly head.
Um, and we're gonna see it even more as we segue into our next one, which was Leatherface,
The 2017 smash hit.
the straight to DVD smash hit that I found. I'm pretty sure in 2018 in the $3 Walmart bin.
Really? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's how I watched this movie because um I was like, I like Texas Chainsaw and I've never really watched any of the others. So maybe I should give this one a shot.
And then you regretted it for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah, this one's stinky.
This
This
one's real bad.
this is a movie again I could very similar talk like say about the new one where if it was a different thing, if it wasn't Texas Chainsaw, fine. Just an okay movie.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
the tying it into Leatherface and giving him an origin, and it's another one of those things where Leatherface doesn't need an origin. You know,
Yeah.
Michael doesn't need an origin story. Jay just, you get their gimmick, like that's their thing. That's scary enough. Once
hmm
once you give them more, um, it's no longer scary.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with Leatherface. I mean, I feel like all that everything that you need if you really needed something about how he became in the 1974 movie,
Hmm
it's all kind of implied. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like his family made him into that type of person
hmm
that like wears like his mask on his face and runs around with the chainsaw. He doesn't seem to have much agency of his own. He just kind
Yeah.
of does what other people tell him to do.
Yeah.
You don't need like a whole giant like epic movie about his backstory. Because yeah, like you said, it just makes him less scary.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Once you remove the mystery, there's nothing to really like. Oh, okay, sure.
right.
Um, but this one really explains it to you.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And this
where
is like by far the this has like no plot whatsoever. This is like the one with the least amount of plot of them all to me.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like how can we get Leatherface from point A to point B and make him this character at the last
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, the Sawyers are running amok, and the town doesn't like them very much, and they kill the sheriff's daughter, I believe.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
sheriff's daughter.
and they somehow don't have proof, even though they dropped a fucking car engine on her. And that seems like really easy to get evidence for,
You would
considering
think.
they have a fucking trap in their garage with a giant, comedically large hole with an engine above it with a lever.
Yeah.
Um, but the sheriff's like, "You take one of mine, I can take all of yours." So he sends their kids to like an asylum.
Yeah, I guess.
And specifically Leatherface we follow. Fuck the other ones, I guess. Um, they don't matter.
They really don't. They're all
um,
the other ones are just there for because the whole movie you're supposed to be kind of wondering, whoa, which one is
yeah,
Leatherface?
yeah.
Because
You're shown like a cast of wacky teenagers.
yeah, and they each kind of give hints like, oh, it might be this guy. Oh, it might be this guy. There's like a mute, like heavy set guy.
Yeah,
who you think at first is gonna
that's
be him, but
that's the one they really want you to think. And he's
yeah,
got like a
that's
temper,
mm-hmm.
and he's good at killing already. Um,
Yeah.
then you have the smooth talking, good looking, charismatic guy who's able to hit on the nurses and stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's some like real asshole dude.
Yeah, the bald guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
I loved
Um,
his character.
and then his girlfriend, who's also like, what is she, like a pyro or something like that?
I think so, yeah, because when then her top was seen, it's all like her chest is all like looks like
Yeah.
burnt or something.
hmm But Leatherface's mom, I guess, has been fighting the asylum with like her lawyers, and it's still not working. So she just decides, I'm gonna let him out. Uh, and in like, I guess try. I don't think she intentionally tried to let him out, but she like on her like busting in, she coincidentally let everyone out.
I think so, yeah, because yeah, she didn't realize it happened until she got home and she got the call that they were out because
Yeah,
she's got some guy on the inside or something like that.
yeah. And then the rest of the movie, up until the end, is just kind of like aimlessly wandering through fields
Exactly. Yeah,
with
they're
all
just
these
like it's a
kids.
road trip.
Yeah, and like not a whole lot happens in between other than like they just kind of fight amongst each other.
hmm
And the cops are on their tail.
Yeah.
Um, but the I think like the big twist is like they see a cop and the nurse is with them. I forgot to mention that one of the nurses gets like stuck going with them. She's
Yeah.
like held hostage, and she like flags down a cop, and for some reason they send the giant mute guy to greet the cop, like the scariest looking kid imaginable, and the cop
hmm
just kills him. Uh, and they get into like a whole thing. So you're like, oh no, I thought that was Leatherface, and then that's when it's revealed that our charismatic boy,
The
our
main
good-looking
character.
guy, is Leatherface.
Oh my god.
Um,
Because he gets like
cause
shot in his like jaw gets like shattered or
yeah,
something like
his
that,
whole
right?
mouth like gets like mutilated,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
he takes her back to the Sawyer farm where they stitch him like up like a muzzle thing to keep his mouth in place or something.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's supposed to
Yeah.
be kind of like his first mask.
Yeah. That was their attempt at explaining why he wears a mask because he wants to cover up
Yeah.
his like ugly face or something.
And then they give him the chainsaw, and they kill the sheriff guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she
Pretty
gets
brutally.
out. The guy chases her, or Leatherface chases her, and then she tries talking sense. She's like, "Remember all the good times?" And then he just kills her.
But yeah, I don't know why we're supposed to. I guess the nurse character was likable, but like everyone else that she was with was so unlikable. I mean, they
Yeah,
kidnapped her.
yeah.
They're all psychos. Like I don't know why we're supposed to care about the heavy set guy. Like when he died, I guess we're supposed to feel emotional,
And we're
even though
supposed to
he.
have some romance subplot between Leatherface and this girl.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, this guy's an asshole. He's like keeping her hostage, and it just
Yeah,
doesn't work on any level. What they're trying to do with it.
and a big complaint of mine is how, and like in the beginning, like Leatherface as a kid, he was like quiet, and yet in the, I don't remember how many years, let's just say like 15 years, he's in this asylum, like an insane asylum, like an institution.
Yeah.
He somehow becomes very charming.
Yeah, charming, and he just seems normal. Like he just seems like a normal
Yeah,
guy, other than kind of being insane every once in a while.
yeah. I think what he just had like temper issues, right, or something
Yeah,
like that.
I think when he sees like people like being killed or getting killed, he has issues with that, and he starts to like break down.
But like, why? The whole movie is just dumb. I don't know how else like really to describe it.
It is. It's really cheap looking. You can tell that they
It's
pumped like five
definitely the
dollars into it.
lowest quality of all the movies.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Um, and it just
I'm like I didn't
yeah,
even know this movie had released. When I
yeah,
was looking at before when we are getting prepared for this, I had no idea that a Leatherface movie had released that
yeah,
recently.
yeah,
Like
like
I had not heard
2017,
anything about it. Yeah,
because no one
it's
talked
kind
about
of
it.
crazy. I mean, I commend them for trying to do something different, but
Right.
that it has like absolutely no plot to it. They're just wandering around in the wilderness the whole movie.
And most of the plot or
Oh,
the reason of the
plus,
movie is just how can we get Leatherface to wear a mask?
yeah,
That's about it.
and they like sum that up in about 5 minutes at the very end.
Yeah.
And I guess we were supposed to be sad when he killed her at the end
Yeah. I guess
for
so.
some reason because we are supposed to care about them as a couple
Yeah, even though it's not a good relationship.
at all.
Like every Sawyer relationship. So I guess that's it.
Yeah, we had to watch all of those movies, suffer through every single one of them.
I'm surprised I was able to remember as much as I did because I feel like some of them really blend together.
No, yeah, you did a really good job with all that. I you remember the more than I would be able to. I remember bits
Well,
and pieces.
a lot of these I've watched twice.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Um, I think the only ones I've seen for the first time were Next Generation and 3D.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen the originals countless times. I've seen Texas Chainsaw 2 like a good amount of times.
Hmm.
Um, the remake, the 2003 and 2006 were just buried somewhere deep down in my brain, and they were only just now like brought up.
Yeah.
And I just remember Leatherface so well because of how shitty it was.
It's really bad. Oh God, there's one scene I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
The in Leatherface. It's at the very beginning, but like I was like almost crying laughing.
Hmm.
When like the prison breakout scene is happening, and
Yeah.
then that one bald guy and his girlfriend are like having
Oh,
sex in the
yeah.
middle of all the
Yeah,
chaos.
they're just like fucking against the wall.
Yeah, and he's like getting a blowjob from her, and he has like the most comical like blowjob face
Yeah.
ever. He's like,
Hmm.
ugh! It's like a me underwears guy from The Room.
Yeah, and like in the background, people are like dying
I
and
know,
like getting
yeah.
stabbed.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. It's great.
I think they were trying to be edgy with it.
I
I
think,
feel
yeah,
like
I
that's
don't
what they
think
were
they meant
going
to be
with.
funny with that at all.
Yeah. Um
I mean, other than that scene, it's like most of it is just boring. Like, it's just not very fun to watch.
that's how I feel about a lot of these.
Hmm.
Um like the 2000 ones, like 3 and 2006 2003 for me are just boring. Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre 3 is just kind of boring. And I notice it's the ones that just try to do beat for beat the original are the more boring ones.
Yeah, the ones that don't try anything new, like 2003
Yeah.
and 2006. Even though that's a prequel, it's like almost the exact same movie
Yeah.
plot wise as the first one,
Yeah, that one
which is
really
bizarre.
doesn't do anything.
No, that's my. I don't know about you, but I mean, what is your least favorite movie that of this franchise that you've watched?
Okay, maybe the beginning
I'm with you 100%. My least favorite is the beginning, without a doubt.
because the other ones I at least have some good qualities to them.
Hmm.
It's definitely a tie between the beginning and Leatherface, but I don't. Leatherface doesn't feel like a movie in the franchise. It
Yeah.
feels like its own weird thing. But the beginning just kind of fails at everything it does.
Yeah, I'm with you. It because like you would think you would do something like Leatherface if you were gonna make a prequel,
Hmm.
but like from what I remember at the beginning, it's
Yeah,
this is the most frustrating part about it was that it the prequel stuff is over with in the first like
yeah,
10 minutes of the
yeah.
movie.
It's just done.
Like they set up Leatherface with his chainsaw. They set up the guy that his dad is being a
Yeah, Drayton
sheriff.
getting the cop. Yeah,
Yeah, and then from then on out, it just becomes like
Texas
another
Chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
movie. It's like they're not even trying. They just want to make money.
and those ones I think look the worst.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they
I'm
just
yeah.
blend in with any low budget, or I guess like medium sized budget, just generic horror movie.
hmm Yeah, when I
Like
think of those movies, I think of like brown, black, and like
yeah,
yellow.
that like yellow, and again that's the thing. We're like, oh, it's Texas. Let's just throw like a yellow and brown like color grading over everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there's like
just
no
awful.
color.
None at all.
Yeah, those just feel very lifeless to me.
Yeah,
Very joyless.
a real slog.
Yeah, I feel like 3D they were trying something, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the biggest
Overall,
takeaway is yeah, like we suffered through all this, and we see like constant attempts at a studio trying to make money, and it just doesn't work. You can't
yeah,
trying to keep in mind that first creative movie. It just doesn't work like that.
mhm,
That was the first movie. 1974 was lightning in a bottle. You can't
yeah,
recreate that. As much as you will try, you just cannot.
yeah. Especially if you really don't have any care for the characters and all that.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, the second one is the best one because I
mhm,
feel like it has the most care
yeah,
for the characters.
they
Like
love it. It's
Leatherface
great.
acts like Leatherface in that movie. They do new
Hmm.
things with all the characters for the most part.
Yeah,
Um, and
and
that's because
even
Toby Hooper directed it.
the protagonist, like the Stretch, is really likable. She has like a lot of charm, and
Oh yeah,
character.
yeah, she was great in it. I'm
Unlike
not
a
sure who
lot of
that
the
actress
other
is.
victims, are just for really forgettable.
Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, that girl and the her
Yeah, her
boyfriend or
boyfriend.
husband.
Um,
Yeah, they're
3D they
forgettable.
try to do something. She's kind of like a punk, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just not a lot of them were good, and I think I agree with you where Texas Chainsaw is probably like ratio of good to bad definitely has like the worst ratio. Um,
Yeah.
which is a shame because the first is so good. Like I would, that's a
It
perfect
really
movie.
is.
It's a perfect film.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the same. I mean, very similar. I think we agree. Halloween, but Halloween has some good ones in there. Um,
Halloween does, yeah. I feel like Halloween has a lot more okay movies than
yeah,
this does. I think
Halloween
most
has
of these are
yeah.
just terrible.
I'll forgive a lot of like the Halloween ones. Where I'm like, okay, that's fine. Where this is
hmm
just like I genuinely like am losing like there like definitely during the 2003 and 2006 I was like my mind would just kind of go other places. And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm
Yeah.
watching a movie." And I'd like come
I found it
back.
really hard to pay attention.
Yeah. All right.
Oh.
So we did it. I don't know what we gained. Um I don't know. It was fun,
we
I
we gained
guess.
a new perspective on franchise movie making.
Yes. And I will say one day we'll look back because I believe we do plan on watching more franchises, and maybe
Yeah.
this one won't be so bad compared to the others we watch. So,
Yeah. I'm
um,
sure this will be like a piece of cake compared to what we're going to watch.
yeah, um, yeah. So that was all the Texas Chainsaws. We did it. Good job. And we did it all in the span of like a week.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Um,
We should have too much time on our hands.
yeah. I just I feel like I have to apologize to my neighbors because they probably just heard so much like chainsaw noises.
There's so much of it.
Fuck. Okay. All right, we did it. We learned nothing. It was a good time. We just got to complain about our leather boy a lot.
Yeah.
Um, all right, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I mean, don't watch any of these movies beyond the first two. That's what I'm gonna
Watch Next
say.
Generation.
Oh, maybe,
I
maybe.
like
I
Next
don't know.
Generation. That's no fuck. We didn't. We learned something. We learned that I like shitty movies. Um, that's what we learned.
I guess so, yeah. I don't know. You have pretty good taste, generally speaking. But, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was all the Texas Chainsaws, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks. Tune in next week.